feed has literally been blowing up with all things Wicked. And if you haven't gone to see the movie just yet or don't know anything about the plot of the show, I would suggest completely getting rid of this video and not watching it until you have seen the movie or seen the show. And I don't want to spoil anything. So many people have been posting about Wicked on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, everything. Been reviewing the movie, especially since the original musical came out in 2003 on Broadway, starring Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. It was such a hit and has always been a hit. I remember my sister and I singing and dancing to all of the songs growing up. I was about 2 years old when the musical originally came out, but once I was about 6 or 7, my sister and I really grew to love it and kind of found it at that time. So she was always Elphaba, I was always Glinda. As you can see, I'm wearing pink to kind of commemorate that. But what has been so awesome is that not only is this just part 1 of the musical that has come out, and it is 2 hours and 40 minutes long, which is wild. Theater kids and other people alike have been coming together to see this movie, especially if they don't know the plot of the show or have never heard of it until now. And I think that that's just so magical that so many people are just kind of either finding it for the first time or just reliving it for the second time. So, without further ado, today I want to talk about all things Wicked. Wicked Part 1 came out this past Thanksgiving, which was such a huge hit. I think also coming out around Thanksgiving was such a huge advertisement point because a lot of the times people will go to the movies for Thanksgiving or after their Thanksgiving dinner or even on Black Friday. I know that my family always did, and it was usually with Star Wars movies. So with Wicked kind of taking that point and aiming to hit the theaters at that time, they really blew up the box office and were rated like one of the highest movies grossing in the theaters, which I think is fantastic. So, to be honest, I wasn't actually really excited about the movie at first. I remember seeing the trailer for the very first time. It was during, I think, the Super Bowl or something like that. Sorry, I don't do sports, so I don't actually remember what football game it was. But I remember seeing the trailer for the first time, and it was like the teaser trailer, so there was barely any information or any scenes, like big scenes, to present. So when it got to the end of the trailer and I heard Cynthia's famous big riff in Defying Gravity, the ending riff that we all know and love, I was not a huge fan of how she did it. That's personally because I'm a theater kid and I know how a lot of the times performers will sing for the stage and what it's like and how it is different than pop singing or just the modern style of singing for recording artists and things like that. I'm not saying that I am entitled and I know more than you do or anybody else does. I just know what I usually hear. So it was a little bit different than what I was normally accustomed to. However, I have a habit of changing my opinion in the long run, and that was exactly what happened in this case. So, to be blunt, yes, I did not exactly get very excited for the movie when I saw the first teaser trailer. I was scared because Wicked is such a special show, not just to me, but to so many people, and it is such a iconic show, especially with the original cast recordings and how big it has gotten throughout the years. It is such a very loved show that I was scared and nervous of what they were going to do with it and how they were going to recreate scenes, recreate costumes, how they were going to do the characters, who they were going to get to play the characters. And then when I found out that Ariana Grande was going to be playing Glinda and Cynthia Erivo were going to be playing Elphaba, and then I found out some little bits and pieces here and there for cast-wise, I don't know how I felt about it. It was kind of all over the place, and so it just took me some time to get used to. So I basically went into the theater with low expectations, but I was also really excited at the same time because, again, it's just such a special show, and I was really eager to see how Ariana was going to do as Glinda because I just wasn't convinced. But once I saw the movie and after I got out of the theater and cried a few times, Andrew will tell you, I definitely changed my mind on a lot of things. So we're gonna talk about those things. Okay, so first and foremost, the sets were incredible. Like, from the school to the boats to how they added certain aspects to really make it feel like you were in the land of Oz. Because if you've seen the show on Broadway or at another theater or community theater or while it was on tour, I got to see it this past year, which was such a blessing. Or wait, actually it was last year. Whoa, that's crazy. So since I got to see it last year, pretty recently, a lot of it is fit for the stage, so you don't get to see everything that it could be like you can in the movies. So that's something I really appreciated, was how colorful, how vibrant, but also very steampunk and very modernized they did it, just like they would for the stage, or how they have done it for the stage with the gears and the bars and all of the things that really make it wicked. The other thing was I found out that they were going to be doing live singing during the movie, only for the leads. However, I thought it was for everyone, but then I found out after seeing the movie that it was only for the leads that were going to be doing their live vocals for the movie. I really loved this choice because truly it created such an ambiance of this is live theater and not just like a movie musical. While it can have both components, I think that's such an awesome aspect of the movie, and I think it really added a connection to the screen to the theater kids, if that makes sense. Just creating more of a theater ambiance and environment in the movie that really made it more of a musical and not just like a regular movie musical like you have seen in the past. However, those are perfectly fine, and we shouldn't touch them. I think they're okay. I'm just saying, I think it's really cool that they decided to do that because it just created something a little magical and special. I have to say, I was actually kind of excited about Cynthia being Elphaba. Besides hearing that last riff in Defying Gravity, the first time I heard it in the teaser trailer, I will say I love how she added her spin on a lot of things, which is a given when it comes to specific actors or actresses taking over roles and doing specific songs. They kind of have to change it up to make it more their style instead of copycatting certain things. But Cynthia was amazing. I truly was so hit by her performance. It was so innocent while also being so adventurous. She was curious, yet scared and frightened of what, her future would entail. I love the bits and pieces that they added of close-ups of her face, of the emotions that you got to see, because on the stage you don't get to see that from the balcony in the theater. You only see the bigger picture aspects of their physicality. You don't get to see the emotions on their faces, and I think that Cynthia really brought that to home and played Elphaba so well. Another thing would be the cinematography. I believe that the director did such a great job at keeping the whimsical, magical aspect. For example, like in Dancing Through Life and in Defying Gravity and in Popular, there were so many little things of movements and colors and things that they did that really just made it so fantastic to watch, and it was so pleasing to watch to the eye. But I really believe that they just killed it in that department. I feel like they got the perfect shots of emotions and expressions from especially Ariana and Cynthia, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in just a minute, but I love how we got to see a little bit of everybody's reactions as well as just keeping it so beautifully done. Okay, this is an honorable mention, but I have to say, Glinda's sidekicks, I'm so sorry for forgetting their names. They have just escaped my mind, but I have to say they were both amazing. I hope you guys know who I'm talking about. You should, because they were so funny, and they gave the best one-liners, but they really just gave it their all and created those roles in such a different way, because I do kind of remember them during the live performance that I saw last year, but I love how they really emphasized them in the movie because it created some different roles to really take note of and to really love, because I personally loved them and how they were such an amazing addition and altogether hilarious. Here is what I thought of Ariana as Glinda. I thought She was amazing. I went in again with low expectations. I didn't want to get my hopes up. Again, it's a very special show and I just wanted to enjoy it just like everybody else was. But I was so surprised at how Ariana just pulled off Glinda so well. She was a different person that I had never seen before. I do know that she has been on Broadway before and she's done musical theater for a very long time before she got into film. So I love that she has that background and she's kind of jumping back into that with Wicked, but I just really have to pinpoint her expressions, her physicality, the way she held herself, the way that she really just had certain expressions on her face when she would say something, or you could see like her mind working as she was like reacting to something that was happening. Every little detail was just so well done. I don't even think I could recreate it, but I love how she just really took Glinda, kept the really special parts of her, but also made it her own and did some different things to kind of create a little bit more of a hilarity while also her being her perky and bubbly self. So Ariana really did an amazing job. The last thing I want to talk about of what I personally loved about the movie would be the Ozdust Ballroom scene. Everybody has been talking about this scene, especially because it's such a pivotal point of the show and of the storyline for the movie. It's basically where Elphaba and Glinda really connect and become friends, and it's just such a sweet moment. Again, you do not get to see the emotion and that connection happen and form like you would on the stage. You can see like their connection when they start dancing, and you know, you can kind of tell, oh, they're like friends now, and it's really happy and so sweet. But then watching the movie, I cried. Andrew will tell you. Again, I cried watching Cynthia and Ariana connect in such a way that was so raw and so beautiful. It was like two sisters finding each other, and their friendship was just unmatched within the rest of the movie. But that scene specifically was so awesome because the silence really added to it, the judgment from the rest of the, the students standing in a circle around them, and then Glinda trying to figure out what decision to make and her making the right decision. It was just so beautifully done, and I love that part of the movie. The last things that I want to get into is basically just the things that I wasn't a huge fan of, but really aren't that much to give because, again, the movie was beautiful and there were so many amazing parts of it, but there were just a couple of things that I was like, So the first thing would be during the live singing, I guess I was the only one that noticed this. Andrew didn't notice it, so maybe it's just me. But because they did live singing, I noticed a lot of very strange pauses of silence happening, especially in the very beginning when Ariana, aka Glinda, is talking about how Elphaba came to be green. And I was a little confused because I don't know if they just didn't know how to edit the live singing into the movie, or they didn't know what to fill those spaces with. Obviously, live singing isn't done in movie musicals very often because of that reason, probably. I don't know all of the little nitpicky details about it, so I don't really want to say I know everything because I don't. But I just noticed that there were some spaces and spots where it just felt dead, and I don't know if that was because they didn't know how to edit it in there properly, or that was just the way it was recorded. Otherwise, it was still very well done, and I'm really happy that they did choose to do live singing. Don't get me wrong. I just noticed that, and I thought it was a little strange, and I didn't know if anybody else had found that to be true for them as well. Okay, this next one, I might get hate for it, but I'm going to tread lightly because ultimately, it was still great. But basically, Dancing Through Life was not my favorite part of the movie. I don't know if it was the choreography, I don't know if it was the singing, I don't know what exactly it was that really just tipped me off, but I just didn't really like it that much. I don't know, it was still great. I loved the choreography, I thought it was really cool, I loved the movement, cinematography, again, amazing, but I don't know. It just felt off for me, but it was still great. Let me preface, because I don't want people coming after me and being like, oh, it was amazing. What are you talking about? I loved it. It just felt really off and not as hyped up as the live version was or usually is. So I don't know, but it was still pretty great. And Jonathan Bailey did amazing. The other thing I wanted to mention is, although Ariana did an amazing job as Glinda, one thing I really noted was I kind of wish she would have added a little bit more perkiness and bubbliness that is usually seen in a live performance. Obviously in the live performances of shows and live theater, it's supposed to be a little bit more flamboyant and bigger than life because you're performing to a bunch of people who can barely see you, but I just kind of wish that she would have had a little bit more quirks and things in the movie to kind of give her that sense of perkiness. However, she did add those in really special moments, and I think that's what she chose to do, and I respect her for it. But that was just a little side note for what I thought. Okay, the last thing that I will say, and this might be just a silly side note that I wanted to add, but in the Ozdust Ballroom scene, seeing it live, if you have seen the live performance of Wicked, you will notice that there's a very iconic dance that Glinda and Elphaba do, specifically Elphaba. I think she starts it and then obviously Glinda, adds in and does her own thing and they dance together. That is still the same in the movie. That did not change. Happy about that. The only thing is the choreography in the live version is very iconic, and the way that they do it, everybody knows it. If you know, you know. But they didn't happen to do that in this movie, which I understand they wanted to do new choreography. They had a specific choreographer to do all of the choreography for them. They wanted to change it up and make it special. I respect them for that. More power to ya. I just really wish that they would have done some of the original choreography because it just is so iconic. However, I will say I really love the little forehead wave that they do, because when you see them kind of grow in their friendship, that's been like a symbol of their friendship. And I think that was so special that they did bring that back in certain parts of the movie. So I will say, even though they didn't do the original choreography, I really appreciated that very sweet and sentimental aspect of their choreography coming back into their friendship. Anyways, I feel like I'm rambling on that. That is all that I have, especially reviewing on Wicked, because there's so much else I could say that is amazing about it. I really did not have any other things that I was like, ooh, I wish they would have done this, or I wasn't a fan of this. Everything was beautiful. I love how they kind of redid some stuff, especially the actors doing some different things with their characters to make them personal to them, but also keeping with the original character as well. I really love the choices that they made, and it was just altogether so beautiful, and I can't wait to see part 2. So I am really excited about it. I hope that you are too, and I just can't wait to see what it's gonna look like in part 2, and I'm probably gonna cry a whole bunch more. Thank you guys for joining me. If you like this video, please let me know what your favorite parts of the movie are, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!